In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to insert images onto our site. So we created some products, we created a drop-down menu. Now we need to add some images, both the background image as well as the product images. Our index.php, for instance, and we have our main style sheet or cascading style sheet here, main.css. So first, let me navigate back to my index.php. In order to create or insert images, we need to go to our tutorials folder and create a new folder. If you have a folder already, that's fine, but if not, I'm going to create one. So I'm going to right click on tutorial, click on new folder, and I'm going to call it images. So at this point, there's nothing in my images folder, but I just named the folder called images. So let's go down to our index.php. Right after the nav tag here, I'm going to first provide a comment. I'm going to call it inserting images. Next, I'm going to start with my div tag and specify a few IDs. Okay, so it depends on the number of images that you want to create. You can create several IDs on the go. So first I'm going to say the background image. So it's background-image. Next, another div ID, and this one is going to be image 1, for example, and you can name as per your own requirement. Close my tag, and of course I need my div tag closed. Alright, so make sure we have everything corrected here. Commas here, for example. Close this. I already have my div tags here, so I'm going to use them. Okay, for another ID, and this is going to be image 2. Alright, and then finally close my main div tag. Alright, great. So just 3 IDs that I created here, one for the background image, and then a couple of more images. Now once we've created our folder, which is called images, then we created our IDs here in our index.php. Next, I'm going to go to my CSS, main.css, and then actually create the styles, right, and the selectors. So let's navigate to our main.css. Let's scroll down to line number 14 here, and first do the background image selector. So just do the background image, and we're going to make sure we open it up with curly braces, and here I'm going to enter the URL or the location of the actual image. Okay, so in this instance, right now I just know that it's background image, and the URL for this particular image is in my folder, right? Because that's the folder I created. I will reference to this folder. So here I'm going to say simply creating the reference here by providing the slash and just typing images, and then the name of the image. Okay, so right now I don't have an image in my images folder, so either I can place the image first in my image folder that I wish to use and then provide the name here. Let's do that first. It's easier because once you have the image in the images folder, then you can always reference it within your style sheet. Okay, so I'm going to leave everything here. I'm going to go to my file explorer, and I may have some images here. For example, here's my background image and a couple of others as well. So I need to drag these images and place them into the images folder here, and just move them here, and just verify that all these 3 images are inside my images folder. So once they are in this folder, let's go back to my code here, and now I can specify which image I like to insert. So for instance, since I'm using the background image and the name of the image is background.jpg, so I'm just going to say background.jpg here, and of course use my semicolon. And next I'm going to create others as well, but I forgot the D here for the background, so make sure your spellings are correct. So next I'm going to create my second element for the image 1 here. So I'm going to say image -1 and open my curly braces and repeat the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this and place it here, and just simply change it to say ecommerce.png. or I can use the other image as well. So depending upon your own preference, right? So I can say something like ecommerce2.jpg and so on. And likewise, my last element, I can simply copy this and paste it again. And this is going to be image 2. And this is going to be called ecommerce.png. Okay, great. So once I have the 3 images here in my main CSS, first is the background image, image 1 and image 2. Going back to our index.php, I created 3 IDs called background image as ID, ID for the image -1, and my last ID for image -2. And also made sure that all of these images are placed in my images folder within my tutorials folder. Let's save these files, save my index.php. And notice you'll see a blue dot, right? So this means that you've not saved your file yet. So just Control S to save the file. So once I've saved both of these files, whether it's the main.css and index.php, let's test it out. Let's go to our browser and refresh to see if something is displayed, and nothing really happens. So let's go back to our code and see what went wrong here. Right, so our code seems okay. We have our ID, background image, image 1, image 2. Let me check this CSS, and these URLs are also fine. The reason why we don't see them on the screen yet is because obviously we have to style them, right? So in my next lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to use CSS and how to use the padding, for instance, how to use the borders, the margins, and in fact bring these images. They have been added, that's for sure, but we need to style them in order to bring them to wherever we want them to be displayed on our screen. Another thing we can do is I can always add, let's say after my div, I'm going to use my paragraph tag here, add some text as well. So I'm going to use P here, and I'm just going to bring up some text. And I can bring the text from the net here, for example, just some sample text I can pick from any of these sites, such as Lorem Ipsum, or you can use any text you like as well. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and go back to my code and simply paste it. And paste it a couple of times depending upon your own requirement. So save it, switch back, refresh, and here's our text. Now we still have to work with the images because all I've done so far is inserted the images, but they're all over the place. We don't know where that is on the page yet. Once we start styling them, we would bring them onto our page and adjust them accordingly. But for right now, let's go back to our code. I want to demonstrate the use of code here, for instance, and then of course our text that we added. And we can adjust the text. This is just some sample text that we have. You can always adjust it. So this way, in this lesson, I demonstrated how to add the images onto our e-commerce site. In the next lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to style them. So I hope this helps, and let's move to our next lesson.